So I went to the Jewel on Friday, early in the morning, and then back later to pick up what I forgot. And I just stood there and looked at the people walking up and down the aisles. I said hi to a couple of the cashiers that have been there forever. And everybody just seemed tired. A little impatient with the long lines. I think a little impatient with having to put the face coverings back on going to the store. And I just sensed a kind of atmosphere of weariness. And then later on, I went to Palos Hospital to visit one of our members, and Peg and I have been trying to go there once a month to give dinner to the night shift at the ICU unit. And I talked to the nurse there that we talked to, and she said, Don, it's not good. I mean, several nurses are leaving because they just can't take it anymore. More and more COVID patients are coming back to the hospital. And she said, yeah, having a nice pizza dinner on a Friday night would be good. And I'm thinking about you. How are you handling everything? Do you have your moments where you just get kind of tired and weary? And that's why I love this passage, because to me, just reading it gives me a sense of promise and peace, where Jesus says, come to me, you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, because I am gentle and lowly in spirit. You will find rest for your souls, because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Whenever I read that, it just feels good. Even when the burden feels heavy, it kind of makes you realize that there's one promise that will never go away, and that is no matter how good or bad or everything is, the promise is that God does walk every step with us. And I know there are times when religion can be a burden, because sometimes religion makes you feel like you're not good enough and you have to measure up. And there are times, I'm sure, that just going to church can be a burden, that being part of a church can be a burden, and we don't want that. Because religion has got to be simple and gentle and inviting and uplifting. This weekend is Labor Day weekend. And I'm not sure what it is. As I get older, Labor Day means more and more to me, because it's about taking time to recognize the dignity of labor and work. That whatever it is that you do for a living, even if you're retired, did you feel like your job and your work has dignity? Do you feel like you're appreciated for the work that you do? And do we take time to appreciate the work of others? I just think, to get through an ordinary day, how many people take care of us? How many people do we see at work whose work we depend on to get through the day? I never quite knew exactly what my dad did for a living. I know he was some kind of engineer. He didn't talk about it. He just went to work every single day. I used to get up in the morning and pull the curtains upstairs, and I'd look at the driveway. And every morning he would be in his little Volkswagen Bug, and he'd drive out of the driveway. And if it snowed, I'd see the tire tracks. And I just knew that every single day, he just went to work to take care of me. And then when he retired, he used to wear 2-pocket shirts. And in the pocket was a ruler or a slide ruler every day. And I go, Dad, why do you have a slide ruler and a ruler in your pocket? And he goes, eh. And so one day I'm at the dining room table trying to figure something out, and I'm going, God, I wish I could measure this. And he'd go. The most fun thing was we were on a bike ride, and we had to stop because my wheel was loose, and I had to tighten some screws. And I said, it'd be nice to have a screwdriver or something that would, and my dad would go. And he'd go, see? For some reason, he was just always prepared, always thinking ahead of somebody else. My favorite thing was he had these couple of Swedish buddies, and they'd go out for coffee, and once in a while he'd invite me. And it was Axel's turn to pay. And they're there. They have 3, 4, 5 cups of coffee. They're there for a couple hours, and the bill might have been $14.95. And we walk out the door, and Axel puts $1 on the table. And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty nice of Axel. So we get outside, and my dad says, hey, Don, I got to go back in. I forgot my keys. And I said, Dad, you got your keys in your hand. And And he said, I forgot something. I got to go back in there. Well, he went back in there and loaded the table with money. And I went out and I said, what was that all about, Dad? He said, nah, we had breakfast for 2 hours. We hardly spent any money, but this person waited on us and was courteous to us and took care of us. And my dad said, when you grow up, to quote your favorite book, Ecclesiastes, tip big. And I've always remembered that, because he wanted to honor the work of the person that took care of them. To me, Labor Day is a day to step back and to honor the labor of all the people that make our lives possible. Maybe take a moment on Monday to think of the people that I too often take for granted. Maybe it's the cashier, or the cop in the patrol car, the crossing guard at the high school, the custodian on the night shift, or the organist, or the video guy, the daycare worker, the caregiver who takes care of your grandmother. You know, sometimes it's hard to watch the news. And this morning I took a little time to watch it before I came here. And the devastation in the Gulf Coast is beyond imagination. They had a little section about this town that's basically gone. And all these people that live there, this down home, good, blue-collar people who are now in basements and shelters and have lost everything they had. And I just wanted to cry. Because here this morning I go home and open the door and make the coffee and come here, and I just take that for granted every day, and I shouldn't. And then they turn to New York and what some of the people are going through there and the devastation. And I realized a lot of those folks are just scared because they don't know exactly what to do. And I know that the damage is, so what can we do? Well, we can do something. It's like somebody says, alone we do very little. Together we can do a lot. And so it may not be a lot, but the love bucket for the next week or 2 or 3 will be for that. And we will send it to an agency that's going over there to help. And it may not be a lot. But if you can bring comfort to one other person and let them know that at least we care about them and want to share what we have, that's kind of what Jesus wants us to do. Come to me, you who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. And even though we're heavy laden, we need to reach out to our brothers and sisters who are probably more weary than we are. You know, sometimes a little slice of life, as small as it is, reminds us of the bigger picture. We were at Guaranteed Rate Field on Wednesday night, and the White Sox, like the Cubs, every game they honor a hero. And usually the scenario is they see where the spouse is sitting, and the spouse's kids, if they have children, and their family, and they focus on the kids, and then they have the person, whether he's in Kuwait or Afghanistan, they have the military person on the screen, and then they wave to him. And so it was time, they focused on the family, they were waving to the screen, and it's only one person, and it's only one family, and it's only one moment. But sometimes those moments symbolize the power and the spirit and the goodness that brings us together and gets us strong in our weakness and the courage to face tomorrow. They're ready to watch him on the screen, but that's not where he was. And this is the way to end the service today.